terms of relation to the neighborhood, then I'll do some more just macro kind of Ward 1 things there. So Magnolia Avenue, pretty much said all their electrical boxes are completed and painted. Thank you, NOWS and others, for making that beautiful. Each one, we try to give an homage to a specific street, but of course, just because it's Murphy's Law, the one that we did at the corner of Jurupa and Magnolia, as soon as it was completed, we're going to upgrade the street signal right now. We have to add on a box to it. So the artists go back out and just add some more to that. And the next we'll start with Brockton, and that will be phase 2, and we'll continue moving throughout the neighborhood. That helps with the graffiti piece mainly, but it's also beautiful. You may have received a letter, if you live on Magnolia Avenue, you may have received a letter from me or from the city. We're trying to plant more trees down Magnolia in the medians, the parkways. Over the years, some have fallen down, we've lost them, and they haven't always been replaced as they should, and Magnolia was the highest concentration of the loss of trees in the wood streets, believe it or not, in terms of falling over, dead, removal. So we're putting them in where people say, yes, the city will maintain them. So what happens is it's the parkway in between the gutter and the sidewalk. You're responsible for watering it, for mowing the grass if there's grass there, or maintaining other plants. But then if we plant the tree, it goes in part of our tree database, and we will trim the tree when the time comes and all of that. So that's kind of that agreement there. So I got several no's, which was kind of sad, but I got some yeses too. So we some coastal oak trees and magnolia trees are going in on
no palms.
No palms. No, we don't plant palm trees anymore. Yes, they're horrible. So no more palm trees.
Thank you.
It's our idea of California. We think that that's beautiful California, but it really doesn't provide shade and doesn't really help much with environmental things. If you live in the historic district of the Wood Street, so the portion closer to RCC for the most part, the Cultural Heritage Board and the city's land use committee came up with a proposal to, at each intersection of, like, let's say Castlereagh and Magnolia, for example, there's a street sign there that says Magnolia, Castlereagh, green sign, 2 of them. On top of that would now have another sign that says Wood Street's Historic District. And the reason why we do that, this would be on every intersection in a historic district, because we heard a lot from folks that said, I didn't know I was in a historic district, so I demolished my garage and ripped out all my windows and put in a putting green in the front lawn. So we want to just think, well, how can we help educate people? I'm a little more of a skeptic. I think people know, and just say, I had no idea that I was in a historic area despite living in a 120-year-old house. So we're going to have signage that hopefully helps encourage awareness of when folks live in historic districts. We have 13 in the city of Riverside, 12 are in Ward 1 is in Ward 3. So majority of our historic districts, overwhelming majority, are in Ward 1. So that will be funded by the Historic Preservation Fund, so it doesn't come from our regular general fund there to do all those signs. Wood Streets will be the third historic district to get that. And that will be probably by end of the calendar year.
Is that both sides of Magnolia?
Wherever falls within the Wood Streets Historic District. So I think there are some streets that cross Magnolia that are in the Historic District, yes. I don't know all the exact, the lines are kind of jagged, but I think Larchwood on both sides of Magnolia is Historic District. Not all the way down to the dead end of Larchwood, but I think into at least Brockton it's Historic District. Yeah, there is. Yeah, I just searched, in Google Riverside Historic Districts, and it shows a map that shows all 13 throughout the city of Riverside, different colors, and shows which one is which. I saw the alleyway request came up. I've been inundated lately with alleyway paving requests, especially in the wood streets. And to be totally frank, there's this push and pull that we have at the city council side of things. So we're given X amount of dollars, or we have X amount of dollars for road repaving each year. Right now it's $51 million a year. Road repaving is approximately $1 million per mile to repave, $950,000 per mile. And of course it depends on which bids come in. It depends on what's happening federally and tariffs and all these things. But for the most part, $950,000 per mile of road for repaving. And so usually we rotate every other year. 1 year we focus on arterial roads. When Magnolia Avenue was repaved, for example. We just right now repaved a portion of Chicago Avenue. 14th Street needs it badly. And then other years then we rotate to more residential and alleyways, and we try to go back and forth. But what I really do grapple with, to be totally honest with you, is that while alleyways I know are bad, how do we get the most bang for our buck in terms of what we all use the most? We all use Magnolia Avenue, 14th Street, Brockton. I'm just laying in ones. I know not all of Magnolia needs to be repaved. It was just done. But so we're trying to thread that needle delicately. We don't want to continue neglecting the alleyways for forever, but I can't guarantee that all the alleyways will be repaved, in the next 5 years, for example. So what we are doing, though, is as these requests are coming in particular, I think a chunk of Rosewood got together and said, let's bombard him. And so Rosewood in particular, in between, help me out, Matthew, I'm forgetting. It was, Matthew Taylor left here, where Matthew Taylor used to live. Rosewood between Magnolia and Osborne, I believe. That portion back there won't be repaved, but it will be leveled, and then they're going to be where we're repaving elsewhere. What we can do is we can take that asphalt, can be ground down into a tighter gravel, and they can put that down and then compact that down. So that one I know is in the docket, but of course anything that we do in the alleyways, they will go around and notify at the front doors the houses there that it will affect. And I know I've had a lot of requests for the alleyway that runs parallel to Magnolia between Beechwood and Larchwood. That one is half paved, half not, and there's a more complicated situation there, so we're trying to work through that process. But I'm happy to accept alleyway requests. I just can't make any guarantees right now on that. So I wanted to make a point of that. The last couple things I'll share that are not Wood Street specific, but they are Ward 1 specific, and you may have seen them in the news. Northside, two things in the Northside. The Northside Agriculture Innovation Center is an 8.8 acre property off of, it's not too far from Reed Park in the Northside. If you're familiar with Reed Park, it's Columbia on Orange Street. This center, or this parcel of land is off of Clark Street, which is a side street off of North Orange, and it will be farming for the future. It's all solar powered greenhouses that will have 30 community garden plots, and will be focused on training farmers, future farmers, but in our 21st century approach to that. And actually, what was surprising is the Department of Agriculture named it as one of the top 5 best sites in the country for future proofing, focus on the future, but farming in the United States. That was kind of cool. So that broke ground last Tuesday. The other main one that got more of the news recognition was the Northside Adventure Park. So this is the site of the old golf course. There was a typo in one of the articles that said there's the Riverside golf course, and there was the old General Old. So it's not that one. Someone got their wires crossed in the reporting, but this is the old Riverside golf course at Columbia and Columbia and North Orange, Columbia and Maine, pick a corner, 126 acres. And we went out to bid to the development community, received 2 proposals. And to fall in alignment with the Northside specific plan. Make a long story short, what came back to us was to purchase those 126 acres, put a shopping center with a grocery store. The Northside has no grocery store. So put a shopping center with a grocery store there. Housing, 25% of the housing units being affordable, which is state law for when the city sells off its land. And an adventure park that has whitewater rafting, surfing pool, mountain biking, zip lining, rock climbing, but no, people are calling it a carnival, people are calling it a water park. No. No chutes and ladders, no slides, no, tilt-a-whirl, no the scrambler, no carnival rides in that way. It's modeled after one that's in Montgomery, Alabama, and Charlotte, North Carolina, and it looks just like nature, but it is man-made. And the study shows that it's still, with the water usage, it's still using 60% less water than what a golf course would use because it's all recycled and clean water that is used there. I went to the one in Charlotte and it is beautiful, but we are just starting negotiations right now. So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I also don't want to promise you that it's going to for sure happen. So in the next 6 months we're negotiating. Fair market value sale of the property is what we're looking at. That would bring in about $20 million of the sale of the property. And we hope for the best. We're going through community workshops right now. The next one will be April 19th at 10 a.m. It's a Saturday. 10 a.m. at the Springbrook Clubhouse, which is right by Reed Park off of North Orange, just north of Columbia. And we'll be sending out stuff about that. I'll get into the Wood Streets, even though I know it isn't your neighborhood, but it is still a cool thing. Last thing I'll say before I turn to questions is got a few comments. There's more so from people, I think, in downtown, but about the entry point from Rubidoux into Riverside, Michigan Avenue, Buena Vista Bridge, and just beautification overall in that area. There's a lot of pyracantha that was there. That's all been removed. It's been cleared, and they planted all crepe myrtle trees throughout. Crepe myrtle trees in the winter look like a dead twig, but they are alive, and when it blooms in the summer, it'll all be nice, and they are water efficient, which is a positive thing. We went from sprayed water to drip line, and then that Mission Avenue will be repaved in 2026. We had some state and federal money for that, hoping the federal money comes through, but 2026 we plan to repave Mission Avenue to really beautify that entry point. It's a main entry to the city.
A lot better already.
We're trying, but I will tell you, as soon as it's like we take one step forward and 2 steps back, because we get a lot of graffiti, vandalism. But we're always trying to make that area better. But I do get a fair amount of concerns about that area. I'll stop there and just take questions, just because I think that that's more important. Well, we'll start here.
I just have an announcement.
Oh, announcement.
I'm so
Okay.
excited about. If you don't shop at Bonds, go to Bonds. They have signs hanging on each aisle of different streets in
Oh, that's
Riverside. So I was shopping, and when I came out, there were a bunch, I call them head honchos, all the guys in suits, right? So I said, there isn't a street on the wood streets, so we're getting one.
Oh,
I don't know what street, I said Oakwood, but So anyways, the street that says Indian right now, they didn't spell it right. They forgot the A on the end. They're gonna replace Indiana with one of our Oakwood, one of our wood streets.
I won't tell my colleague in Ward 5 that he's losing one of his streets and we're getting a street
But
over
listen, so I'm talking to these guys, I hate to go on, but it's so cool. So I'm talking to this group, not anybody in particular, and this woman was with them, and she said, well, yeah, we're in the wood streets right now. We should have it. And so I go to my car, and this woman's running out to the parking lot. You're getting it.
Yeah.
You're getting it. So.
Well, thank you for representing the wood streets at Bonds. They should hire you. Well, I think I saw a question of Keith, and then right here. Yes, Keith.
Yes, yesterday morning on my front porch was a yellow slip saying the power's going to be off tomorrow, being today at 9 o'clock for 4 hours. And I go, oh great, nothing happened. What's the deal?
So I don't know why it didn't happen today, but I can tell you
Well, I've been
why it
raining
was.
and be foolish.
No, that's true. I guess that's true. So what they are doing is it's just outside of Ward 1 in Ward 3. They're redoing, putting in new wooden electrical power lines on Riverside as you're headed from the wood streets toward the plaza. Not adding more, just replacing ones that are leaning, maybe termites, maybe things along that nature. And they turn off the power to do that. So it might just be where you're kind of, and I guess you're not too far from that general bend as if it goes down Ramona and bends on
Well, it
Olivewood.
was all the way down Beachwood too, because I don't walk 2 neighbors. So I think that's everything.
The reason that's happening is because I had a lot of residents in Ward 3 reach out to me and say, you did this. I said, no, I didn't do it. This is contact your Ward 3 council member. But they're doing new replacement of the power poles on Riverside Avenue. But not the Wood Street, not to my knowledge, the Wood Street side, the Riverside Plaza side. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a comment and then 2 questions. One is, I just wanted to give a shout out to the graffiti abatement team. They are awesome,
Good.
and please pass that along.
I will.
I am like the queen of reporting on 311.
Please continue to do that,
I
too.
do, and they are amazing, and they are fabulous, and they make our neighborhood look good because they get rid of graffiti right away.
They're short-staffed and we're hiring 2 more actually because we've actually had complaints that they've been too slow.
Oh.
So we're hiring 2 more folks to help that because our goal is to try to get it down within 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, no, they had a little bit of a glitch, but I don't know what was going on. I didn't hound them about it, and then they got it up to speed, and now I probably sent 15 last weekend. So
Thank you.
anyway, do you have any updates on the Sears property? What's happening?
Yeah, so, and I know just enough at a distance because that is Ward 3, but when I talked to my Ward 3 colleague the other day about it, so it was approved, the development was approved to demolish old Sears and develop that into housing modeled after the architecture of the Sears building, kind of mid-century architecture. That was probably August, maybe, September it was approved. And so now what I heard through my colleague is that the developer might be looking to sell the property and may not be able to have, we're seeing a lot of our developments, to be totally frank, are kind of either stalling or there's hesitancy just because the economy is a little odd right now. yes, I will tell you, sales tax for the city, right now, we're looking at about a $5 million drop in sales tax. So because people are not buying cars, and cars are our number one sales tax driver in the city of Riverside because of the auto center. So developers are kind of being a little sheepish right now, and so what I heard was that he was looking to sell, but would have the intention, if we were to move forward with selling it, sell it with, you already have the approval, so it has to be the same architecture, it has to be the same style of what was approved, because if not, you have to start the whole process over again. But as of now, I haven't heard of like plans for demolition or any of that.
And then just quick on a comment on the adventure park, is that like a cost thing, or is that, what is that?
In terms of cost to go
No,
to
I
it?
mean, yeah, for a person to go to.
Yeah, so great question. So the way it works is, and this will be, like I said, modeled after the two other ones I listed, it is free to go in, and it's kind of like Central Park in a way where you can go and you wander, but if you want to go rafting, you have to pay. If you want to go kayaking, you have to pay. So I always said that, especially when we went to the one in Charlotte, we were there in the afternoon, and people were getting off work, about 4 or 5 o'clock, and then would come walk their dogs through the adventure park. They weren't rafting or anything, they would just people watch. Maybe they have restaurants there, they were grabbing a drink or something, or a snack. And so that part is free. It's not fenced in, it'll be open to repark. But if you wanted to go do the stuff, the adventures, that's what they would charge for.
Would that would be employed then? You'd have employees?
Yeah, but it would be a private agency. The company's called ASR, Adrenaline Sports Resorts, Adrenaline Sport Resorts, and so yeah, they would have employees.
Okay.
I know there was one right here, and then we'll get right over here. Yes, because I think I skipped you earlier. So part of the negotiation that we have right now are these, the community benefits. What is the developer going to do in addition to what they want to do that will benefit the community? One of those things is cross-country track. What we were happy to see is in their proposed plan that they gave us, their idea, their concept, it had a cross-country track around the site. So that's a positive thing. Yes, ma'am.
So back to the adventure.
Sure.
The water park, this stuff. What happens to that in the winter time? Do they just shut it down?
Great question. Well, actually, Charlotte runs all year long. I guess maybe because it's so humid that they can do it. And I believe, I think Montgomery would run all year long. But they told us that they, of course, hire more people in the summer, but they have no intent. It's not going to be, open doors from April to October and close November to March. It'd be year round. Because you also have you have the zip lining, the mountain biking piece of it too, cross country of course. And at this rate, we had a hot November, not too cool January. But it'll be a year round thing. Of course, it'll be busier in the summer though. Yeah, Jack.
I think I saw something in the press enterprise about a tie-in with the 2028 Olympics.
Oh yeah. This, I think in some ways kind of was unfortunate that it eclipsed the other news. So there is an Olympic committee that pairs up with this developer, this ASR developer, where right now, despite what everyone was saying, people were saying on social media, the venues are already decided. They sent out a list, it's decided. Actually, it's not true. The LA City Council, believe it or not, has the final say on venues. People think that it's the Olympic Committee makes the determination. No, the host city, their leadership at that city makes the determination. So right now there's not currently a decided on location for mountain biking, but I forget what they call it. I'm not a sports person, as you may be able to tell. Talk to me about architecture, I can talk all day long. But there's like 3 different sports that they haven't finalized locations for. And so if this were to be completed in time, we could be in the running for that. All Olympic venues, they're decided June of 2027. That's when the LA City Council makes the determination. So this can be built by then. We would put our name forward for that, but that is not incumbent on this development. So the developer said that's like icing on the cake from their perspective. If we get that, wonderful, but that's not going to be the make or break for this project to move forward. But because it's the Olympics, it got all the flash and glamour that kind of eclipsed all the other news of that story.
We'll have time for about one more question.
Yes.
Are we gonna see the vans that are not, what do I want to say, they're driverless?
Oh yeah, the autonomous vehicles. Yes. When are you going to see them? Is that the question? Yeah. So there was a kind of ribbon cutting yesterday. I wasn't able to be there because I had to go to my other job. I was in the Wood Streets. I was at RCC. But it was at the airport is where they're going to be stationed now. It's a partnership between the City of Riverside and RTA. And there are going to be different pilot routes. They're going to start with in downtown will be the first route that they'll start with. Off the top of my head, I don't know the route, but we can get it for you. But we'll be seeing them first in downtown. Phase 2, I think, is around UCR. And then I can't remember beyond that. But they're interesting. It's something so futuristic, you know. But it's a company that relocated from New Zealand and Australia to Riverside, and they're stationed at the airport.
Advance for what?
It would be like equivalent to public transportation.
They're free too.
Correct.
That's my understanding, right?
I think during their trial runs, they're going to test that water and see how that goes. Okay, great.
Let's
Well,
make
thank
some
you
noise
very
for
much.
Philip.
Thank you.